we talk about ARC readers and we also have beta readers, and those are a little different. I've had people confuse them because, beta readers are giving more of an impact and back. But can you, from your perspective, talk about how you enlist them and how you use them?
Yeah, there's a massive difference between beta readers and ARC readers. They perform a completely different function for you. Your beta readers should be a very small group of people who are ultimately brought in very early in the process, maybe after developmental editing, because you don't want to give them a big pile of poo. Excuse the expression, but often, at least that's what my book looked like before it went to developmental editing. It was like, help, let's get this to where it needs to be, right? So you want to have it revised a bit, the concepts, they're developmentally edited, and then you enlist your beta readers who can be a variety of things. They can be either other authors, they can be readers in your genre that are really good at helping move, provide feedback on a story. We all have that friend who should have been an editor. My friend Sheila is that. Every time she sees anything spelled grammatically wrong, anything, she's sure to shame that person on Facebook. Maybe not that person, whatever. You know what I'm talking about. So if you're doing a nonfiction book, it could be someone in your target audience, maybe someone who wants to learn how to do yoga and you're teaching a book about how to learn yoga, things like that. Mm-hmm. You want to keep this group of people fairly small because getting too much feedback from too many people will be incredibly overwhelming and you don't know what to do with all of that. But they, in a way, work as mini editors that you're not paying. So sometimes you can pay a beta reader, but I would resort to that as a last resort. There's plenty of people who beta read in your community that you can reach out to. Their goal is going to be based on what your goal is that you need for feedback. So in a fiction book, it's often going to be, does the timeline jive? Are you bored to tears with anything? Is there a paragraph that shouldn't be there? Is it descriptive enough? Am I showing, not telling? Those types of things that will help you, give them some ideas of the type of feedback you want. Some of them will go gung-ho. Some of them won't provide much feedback. It's just going to depend on who they are. But their real role is to help you move that manuscript from first revision or maybe second revision from wherever you are to a draft that's good enough to send a copy editing where the expert in grammar and structure can come in and you're not dealing with all these other issues. Because the last thing, a copy editor wants to deal with is trying to clean up a whole bunch of stuff before they can actually get started. So beta reader, then I would suggest, so developmental editing for fiction books. Not all nonfiction books need developmental editors. Some do, some don't. That's a question you should ask an editor. Then into probably your self revisions and your tools like Pro Writing Aid, like Grammarly, like things like that. Then to beta readers, and then to your copy editor is the process that I would advise to follow. ARC readers, these are marketing tools. They are not editors. Now they may find some proofing errors, and that's okay. That's great. Actually, you would much rather have ARC readers provide that feedback than somebody who's bought your book and is angry. So their job is to read the book before launch, to provide their feedback about the book, to give you insight into any issues that they come up with. I mean, we've had everything on ARC readers tell us that there were too many copy edits that still needed to be done. We've had people say there was a problem with, sometimes they will come back with bigger issues. Mm-hmm. And you have to look at that and decide, did they just not get this? Or, is this a problem we need to address? Which is another reason why that window is critical, 3 to 6 month window. So as you get this feedback from people, you still have time to act on it. We had one for a children's book. We had an ARC reader who came back and said, this font is cute, but because it's dashed, I'm having a really hard time reading it. That's critical feedback that comes in at that last moment that we were able to change the font before we finalized it. Now, we wouldn't be able to do that in a 3-month window with our children's books because we go to print. So hopefully but with an indie self-published book, print on demand, you usually have time to fix those types of things. But yes, your ARC reader's primary purpose is to read your book, provide feedback from a big picture level, not a nitpicky level, and unless they find little mistakes, and then to review it and to post it out there into the world, to create buzz, to share about your book, to leave reviews when it launches. those types of things. So they're
Mhm.
very, very different. Where your beta readers, you have maybe 3 or 4, 5, probably at the most people, because man, it can be overwhelming to incorporate too many people's feedback. And then ARC readers, there is no limit to how many ARC readers you want to use. Now, I will, one little tip on that though, try not to use your warm audience. And what I mean by a warm audience is people who are already on your email list, people who have already expressed an interest to buy your book. Try not to use those folks necessarily as ARC readers, because they are the people that are almost guaranteed to buy your book. You want to look for new readers who do this, who provide that. And you can use tools like Book Sirens, like NetGalley, like other places like that will find you ARC readers specifically. And then you can sell your book to your warm audience of your friends, family, people who have been joining your email list, people who have expressed an interest. And that doesn't mean you can't, this is a long-winded thing here. That doesn't mean you can't pull people from your email list to be part of your ARC team. I would not advise you to give your book away for free to everyone in your audience. We've tried that a few times, and we get lots of reviews. That's great. Reviews are wonderful. That's a good exchange, but you don't see the sales if you gave everybody you already knew to market your book to a free copy of it. Sometimes they'll buy a book, sometimes they won't. So
I mean, why buy it if you've already got it? So that's a very good point, and I think it's super important that people kind of come forward with what they need there. I have a question here, and there's any other questions, please bring them through. Did you have any other points you wanted to cover today?
no,
Mhm.
I mean, I think the biggest thing, we've been really talking through the whole process of, and if you go back, Jolen's going to provide the first few in this series to anyone who just
Yep.
got in on this fourth one. But we've
Yep.
really been covering the ground from determining what route to publishing you're even going to take, and how whether you go self, indie, or hybrid is going to determine a lot of your timeline. We've talked
Mhm.
about what you can be doing while your book is in editing to start marketing your book. We've talked about this last phase here. And the real thing to take away is that it's not something that this is what you should not do. You should not just sit down, write a first draft of a book, get a copy edit, and publish it.
No.
That leads to disaster. You
Yeah.
should plan your book, plan your marketing while you're thinking through your book, thinking about your target reader, and start thinking about the things that you can do along the way. Do as many rounds of editing as you can afford. And I think this is one of those places where it's kind of like tough love, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not inexpensive to publish a book, and it can't be done for free.
Yeah.
That's not fair. It can be done for free. The results are usually not wonderful. So you need to be thinking about, as you're going through the process, like, what budget do I have? Are there ways that I can raise money for this? Can I, if budget is truly a problem, can I do a crowdfunding? Can I do something else? Can I start, knowing that this is going to be a long process and I have to invest in it? Can I start squirreling away $50 a paycheck or something like that, where you're putting it in there, thinking about those types of things, and then making sure that you have the budget to do the things that need to be paid for, done really, really well. There's a lot of marketing that can be done without spending any money, but it takes long-term strategy and approach and other ways to do that. It's going to be largely your time invested. So again, if that's not an option, then but just going into it knowing and understanding that this is a product that you are selling is the first key to understand, that with any product and with anything that you're selling, it needs to be done professionally, it needs to be done well, and it needs to be marketed. And if it's not a product that you want to invest all this time in, there's a great place for you, and that's called the Passion Project. And the Passion Project, you can throw out everything we say and just do what you want and not spend any money and get it out there, and you've published your book, and that's okay. And I like to just be very clear about things like this, because it's super frustrating when you hear messages like, oh, you can just self-publish your book and you don't have to do this, and you can just run it through a tool, and you can, do it all by yourself, and you don't have to pay for anything, and you should never pay for publishing. And that's a really unfair statement for people to be putting out in the world for us, because it doesn't lead to success.
Quality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was my soapbox. You got your soapbox. Now I got mine.
Yeah, I mean, it's important. I think that everybody has a different reason for writing a book, and it's always important to know exactly why you're writing your book. Any author, fiction, nonfiction, whichever it may be. What is the point of this book? What do I desire from it? Is it to be a bestseller? Is it to make money? Is it to,
Mhm.
fulfill my bucket list? Is it a passion project? What is it? Is it something that my children will inherit and it's a memoir so they remember me forever? Whatever it may be. There
Yeah.
are 1,000 different reasons, and your reason is valid. So
Yes.
now everything you do from that point, from the moment you sit down to start typing, should be based around that goal. So, if it's a bestseller, then this is way, way, way more important, launching and publishing and editing and all of that, and making sure that you reach out with a query letter, and all, whatever way you're going. That's a very long and a very admirable process. Now, when people say, "Oh, you shouldn't pay for anything," well, maybe if you just want to see your name on the Amazon page, then that's fine. And you say you've written a book. I mean, that is possible, but I don't know who's going to buy it. And if they buy it, I really hope that you are a very strong, skilled writer and storyteller, because those are difficult. And the best of the best authors, everyone always say, edit, edit, edit. You don't see Stephen King or J.K. Rowling or anybody else saying, ah, you don't have to pay for it. Just go, skip. You can be just like me. And those names and those stories are very rare. So